and we are crossing our fingers. Andre, you ready? Okay. I don't know. You might not hear the theme song, but just know, for those of you who are now watching on YouTube, later on after the show is updated, uploaded into YouTube, today we're going to learn about what's in your water, the fluoride in your water, the chemicals in your water that could possibly be making you sick. So something to consider. I want to encourage you to fasten your seatbelts because we're going to learn and grow together. Do we get the music today? Awesome. I can't hear anything. Let's see. Let's see if I hear the music. And if you hear the music, it's time to dance. No, I don't hear it. Do you?
You want to hear it from here?
Well, let me see. No.
How do you usually listen to it?
In my ears? Do you know? Hey, are you guys listening to?
Wait, it's on mute. It might be the reason.
Okay, let's unmute ourselves.
Yeah, how?
Okay.
Can you listen?
No, I can't hear it. I can hear now.
Okay.
Okay, really good. Whatever you did, maybe you turned up the volume.
No, my microphone was on mute.
Okay.
This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com.
Okay, here
Now
we go.
let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening friend. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who have been listening to my show for the last 7 years, or maybe you just started learning about the show yesterday or 2 days ago, then thank you. Welcome back. And I'm grateful that you've joined us again. But if this is the first time that you have stumbled upon the show, just know that I have been waiting for you. Please know this is a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening and viewing friends, because we are on Facebook at Lillian's Radio Show, on Facebook at Lillian's Radio Show, and I'm in the Jacksonville studio on the Talk 100.3 in here at CP Broadcasting, Salem Center. I'm so excited to be in Jacksonville. We just finished today our first Heal Tribe meeting and last night, and I am just thrilled to see how much we learned and we're growing together. So they say that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And so I wonder, how many of you wonder what is in your water? Now, we've done shows about that and all the different chemicals, but we're going to focus on just a few, maybe one. I don't know. It all depends what Dr. Paul Connett, Professor Paul Connett, has to say today. And, you know, why do we fluoridate water? What is that all about? And so Professor Connett has taught in Cambridge University and holds his PhD in chemistry. And he was prompted by his wife to look into this fluoride thing that's been going on around for so many different years. And so he started dabbling into it, and then he discovered a new passion for where he was going to help people heal, teach them a new truth, which is what we talk about here on the Lillian McDermott Radio Show. It may not be something that you're ready to hear. It might be a really new truth that you will reject. But I ask that you consider the information that's going to be shared here today. Because if he's wrong, then no big deal. You still have learned a new truth that potentially could harm you. If he's right, which I feel very comfortable in presenting this show today, if he's right, which I know I've done the research myself, then you've got something tremendously important to consider in your life. So much so that Dr. or Professor Connett decided that he's going to write a book, many books. And the one that we're giving away today is called The Case Against Fluoride. The Case Against Fluoride will teach you all the different basics. And also, this one's more my level because this was another one that was given to me. It's called F is for Fluoride, which is a kid's book. And that one made me understand a lot more. And so, but just the basics. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that Professor Paul Connett is here to do just that. Welcome, Paul, to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show.
Thank you, Lillian. Thank you for having me on.
It's my pleasure. You know, like I said at the beginning, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And you were ready as well because your wife prompted you to look into this fluoride. But before that, talk a little bit about your background and what led you to say yes to your wife.
Yes, I'm a retired professor of chemistry. At that time in 1996, when my wife, as you say, introduced me, actually she twisted my arm and gave me a cup of tea. At that time, I was teaching chemistry at St. Lawrence University in Canton, New York, and my speciality was environmental chemistry and toxicology. And most of the rest of my time, I was involved with waste management, an issue that's taken me to 66 different countries around the world. So I wasn't interested in another issue to take up the rest of my life when she introduced me to this topic. But as you said, when I started to read the facts about this, I was shocked. I was shocked that I'd gone along with the crowd to believe that the people opposed to fluoridation were somehow crazy, that there was no science behind the opposition. It's a very unusual practice, adding fluoride to the drinking water. We add a number of chemicals to the drinking water to make the water safe and nice to drink. But fluoride is the only thing that we add to the water to treat people. In other words, we're using the water supply as a delivery system, which makes it a very clumsy way of medicating people. Because once you put it in the water, you can't control the dose, you can't control who it goes to, and you're violating the individual's right to informed consent.
Informed choice. And that's what we're talking about today. And there is an incredible movement. I am a part of this movement now that I've done my research, and I hope you will do your research too. And we're going to continue our conversation with Paul and at Lillian's radio show on Facebook Live when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. Okay. So now we get to turn to my audience in Facebook Live. I hope that you will be curious about what we're going to be talking about today. Curious and consider. So I want to, because I can't see who you are unless you tell me where you're from or put a little heart there or share. Do whatever it is that you can and just help me see that you're listening. And that you either agree, disagree, this isn't about a debate. This is about evidence. We're not going to, emotions. Like, for example, Paul, you thought that people who thought the fluoride in the water was overkill and that we didn't need it, you thought everybody was crazy. So how did you drink the purple Kool-Aid? What caused you to say, I now believe that the crazy people are part of my tribe?
Well, part of my problem was, as a chemist, I was thinking of fluorine. Now, fluorine is the most reactive element in the periodic table. And if they were putting fluorine into the water, we'd have a serious problem. And I was thinking that fluorine was very bad, but fluoride was okay. Just like salt, common salt is sodium chloride. Chlorine is a very nasty, poisonous gas, very reactive. Sodium chloride, we put it on our meals every day. No, it turns out that whilst fluoride is not as dangerous as fluorine, it's extremely active biologically. And that is why nature has kept it away from the baby. The level of fluoride in mother's milk is extremely low. And this is one of the problems with fluoridation. A bottle-fed baby gets about 200 times more fluoride than nature intended.
Can you say that again?
A bottle-fed baby in a fluoridated community where the parents are using tap water to make up the formula will get about approximately 200 times more fluoride than that same baby if it was breastfed. So nature intention is to keep fluoride away from the baby. Water fluoridation forces it upon it.
Okay, and we need to talk about that on the air. And we're about to go back on the air, Paul, and and continue our conversation on the radio. Let me know because I can't hear anything.
You cannot hear it?
Mm-mm. Okay. Welcome back to the Lillian McDermott radio show, where we always learn and grow together. Today's teacher is Professor Paul Connett. Professor Connett was introduced to challenged to look into fluoride and how fluoride affects us. And reluctantly, he accepted the challenge, and now he is a champion to get this chemical removed from our water. So for those of you who would like to learn and get a copy of this book, the book is called The Case Against Fluoride. And for those of you who are listening on the radio, be the fifth caller or texter. The fifth caller or texter, 407-373-5959. For those of you who are watching on YouTube or later on YouTube or at Lillian's radio show on Facebook Live, you too can participate in your own individual. Be the fifth person to private message me, and you will win a copy of this book. So you too can participate. So if you're listening, whether I can see you or not see you, doesn't matter. You can still send me a private message on Messenger and say, I want this book. I want to learn about fluoride in my water. So let's start, Professor Connett. Let's start, and he's asked me to call him Paul, so I will call him Paul as well. So I'll go back and forth. For those of you who are just tuning in, you know that I am talking to a PhD professor, chemistry. And so let's talk about fluoride. And what is fluoride? And why is it in our water?
Fluoride is a compound containing fluorine and some other element. Fluorine is the most reactive element in the periodic table, but fluoride, from a chemical perspective, is pretty benign. If you had a jar of sodium fluoride, you put it on the shelf, it'd still be there 100 years from now. But fluoride is extremely active biologically, and that is why I believe nature, in its wisdom, has kept fluoride away from the newborn baby. The level in mother's milk is extremely low. So when a parent bottle feeds their baby in a fluoridated community and uses tap water to make up the formula, they will be giving their baby 200 times more fluoride than nature intended, which I think is a reckless thing to do. Why do we have fluoridation? Because back in the 1940s, dentists and people in the public health service thought that fluoride would lower tooth decay. That's why. They found that it caused a condition called dental fluorosis. That's where it all started. They found this condition, a discoloration, mottling of the enamel, and dentists thought that those children that had this condition in Colorado and Texas and so on had less tooth decay. So maybe there's a level of fluoride that we can put in the water that will lower tooth decay, but not cause too much dental fluorosis. Mm-hmm. Well, one half of that experiment is a complete failure because now over 60% of children in the United States between 12 and 15 have dental fluorosis. So that was a failure. But it's what it's doing to the rest of our body, not just damaging the teeth, that is a concern to me, particularly the brain and the thyroid gland.
Yes, and so dental fluoride. Okay, so if 60% of children have dental fluorosis and it's caused by the fluoride in the water, why hasn't that been enough to say, maybe we got it wrong. Maybe the earth isn't flat.
Well, to be accurate, this condition of dental fluorosis is caused by the total fluoride dose that you get.
Okay.
And since fluoridation began, we have fluoride toothpaste, fluoride mouthwash, we have fluoride pollution, we have fluoride in pesticides, and so on. So it's all sources combined mean that our children are being overexposed to fluoride now.
Okay, so you've mentioned children, but what about adults? Do children get affected differently than adults?
Well, the difference is that you can only get dental fluorosis, the visible sign of fluoride toxicity, whilst the teeth are growing.
Got it.
So after your permanent teeth have come out, you can't get dental fluorosis. It's a systemic effect. It's from, a swallowing fluoride. When your teeth are growing, once they're out, you won't get dental fluorosis.
I remember when I was a kid and getting my teeth cleaned. I remember, and maybe I'm remembering this incorrectly, but my dentist would actually put fluoride on my teeth like as part of the treatment.
Yes, those are called fluoride varnishes or liquid, but they're very high concentration. And when children swallow that, there have been cases where they've been killed. But more often than not, you'll get children complaining of stomachache when they go home, they feel sick because they've inadvertently swallowed some of that. So you usually put it in trays. So you put it in a tray of the teeth, you only have it there for a few minutes and take it away. That's what they call topical treatment with fluoride.
Yes. And so thank God I didn't swallow it, or else I wouldn't have a show today. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. So here's the thing. The research has been done, but let's talk about the research and what it's found. We talked about children. What does the research show that it does other than the fluoridation or the dental decay or the discoloring of the teeth?
Yeah.
What else can it do to a child other than that?
Well, in 1996, when I first got involved, the same year, 1996, was the year in which the first two studies from China showing a relationship between high fluoride exposure and lowered IQ in children.
Wow. And
since then, we've had 60 IQ studies. And one of the latest and most important, which is a US government-funded study, showed that there's a strong association between exposure to pregnant women during pregnancy and lowered IQ in their children. Now, this is a very strong study. It was a 12-year, multi-million-dollar funded study done by people who've done a lot of research in this area. And what it says is the most serious point at which a human being can be exposed to fluoride is during pregnancy, for the fetus. It's the impact on the fetal brain, which is of great concern to us. And one of the messages we have to get out to people before we stop fluoridation worldwide and in the United States, which I hope we can do this year or soon afterwards, we have to warn pregnant women during pregnancy, don't use fluoridated toothpaste and don't drink fluoridated water because your fetus could have its brain damaged.
Okay.
Not only...
I just want to add something there. So because I'm all about empowerment, you're saying not to drink the fluoridated water or to also use the toothpaste, which I stopped using the toothpaste a long time ago. What can they do as prevention? What kind of water is best? Because if we're drinking bottled water, the plastic is bad. If we're doing, there's just so many things that what takes the fluoride out of our water?
Yeah, well, there are techniques. You can use reverse osmosis. You can use distilled water. You can buy spring water. My wife and I, every few weeks, go to a spring and fill umpteen bottles with spring water. But here's the rub. I can do that because I can afford to do that. I have a car. I can drive. I've got the money for gas. But what we are concerned about are women, pregnant women in low-income areas. Many of them cannot afford bottled water, reverse osmosis. Many of them don't have transport, so lugging big bottles of distilled water back from their supermarkets or spring water is difficult for them. And here's the irony. The irony is that dentists were persuaded to do this because they thought they would help children from low-income areas, which was a very rational response because most of the tooth decay, 80% of the tooth decay in the United States is concentrated in low-income children from low-income families. So this was a very rational and compassionate response to want to do something to help poor children. But now we find out that it's the poor children who are going to be hurt most because the poor children, the poor families cannot afford these avoidance measures, and worse, probably poorer diet. And we know that fluoride's toxicity is worse for people with poor diet, less minerals, less protein, and so on.
Yeah.
So they have a double whammy. So if you're concerned about children from poor communities, what we need is education for better diet and better dental hygiene. Teach children how to brush. And look at what they're doing in the rest of the world. You know, the United States is the odd country out here. Most of the countries in the world do not fluoridate their water. But guess what? According to the World Health Organization data, the teeth in the non-fluoridated countries are just as good, if not better, than the fluoridated ones.
Amazing, amazing. And all of that's all a combination as well, because they don't have the processed foods that we have that are probably made with fluoride and with the water that contains fluoride. So, you know, it's getting more and more. Okay, so because I read, and maybe I'm wrong, I read a long time ago that Hitler used fluoride. No, that's a myth.
No. It's a myth, and it's used against us.
Okay.
We checked this historically. We could not find adequate historical evidence, so we checked with the Wiesel, the guys that chased the Nazis. I forgot the name of the organization. Okay. Mm-hmm. But if there was any history, any record of the Nazis doing that, they would know. But meanwhile, it hurts us because we don't want to accuse dentists of being like Hitler. And this is it's horrible. So look, the concern is scientific. It's not a question of whether Hitler did anything. It's a question of what we're doing to ourselves. And now we have the science that shows that we may be lowering the intelligence of future generations. That is the strong argument. And they want to ignore that. They want to find an excuse for not reading those scientific studies. And this gives them the excuse. Oh, these people are crazy. I told you they were crazy.
Good. I'm glad that you're taking that myth away, because there's so many things that we hang on to that aren't real. And that's why we talk about a new truth. We want to make sure that we are focused on the science, the evidence, not just arguing opinions. We discuss facts. And so I want to encourage you guys to consider this as a truth, that if this is actually happening, which we know it is, then you can make an informed choice. And so what I want to talk about when we return from the break, because I know that we're going to be having a break pretty soon, what I want to talk about is, we talked about children, but what about as we are consuming this as children and now we're adults? Different ways, what are some of the symptoms that could be that we're experiencing at this time that we don't know what we don't know that is fluoride potentially the cause of it? And so for those of you who are listening today, you can call 407-373-5959, or you can text me at 407-373-5959. The book is called The Case Against Fluoride. This is not opinion. This is facts and evidence. That's what we discuss on the show, is facts and evidence. When we return, and at Lillian's radio show on Facebook Live, you can join me on your smartphones anywhere around the world. You can join me at Lillian's radio show. Be the fifth person to send me a message on Messenger on Facebook, and you too can win. And we'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyounneedafriend.com. We'll be right here. Okay, so, as I'm drinking my water that is not reverse osmosis, I want to spit it out. For can you believe this is going on? Can you believe? And I'm going to switch right now to, let me see where I can find all of you on Facebook Live. Let's see.
FM 100.3, W262AG Jacksonville, AM 1600, WZNZ Atlantic Beach, Jacksonville.
Okay.
Talk
So
100.3 FM.
Okay.
The White House for Democrats to
Now here's the
negotiate.
news.
So far, no movement.
Okay,
to
hold
break
on.
the
We're having a
logjam.
little bit of difficulty.
They've come from far and
It's
wide.
okay, we'll fix it. Are we good? Can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
Awesome. Okay, so for those of you who are listening to this for the first time, can you believe this? Can you believe that this is happening to us? And so what I want to talk about when we return from the break, well, first, Paul, just know that when we come back, I talk about the show and how to get a hold of the show and all that, and then I'll reintroduce you. But during this time, I want to encourage you, for those of you who are on the computer right now, and we're, maybe after the show, if you go to whenyouneedafriend.com, please become a subscriber. And when you become a subscriber there, you'll get the show sent to you every single time. And I want to talk about my homepage for the sponsors that are sponsoring me on Facebook Live. On Facebook Live, we have my sponsors, which is First Alternative Care, and that is $35 a month for telemedicine from anywhere in the nation per household. And that's unlimited 24/7 medical telemedicine. Also, they have dermatology and 3 hours of mental health counseling for $35 a month. And a household can be a bunch of college students, or your grandmother and your father, or a family of 3. It doesn't matter. Everybody is included in that for $35 a month. Think about the money you would save when it comes to going to the doctor, co-pays, in the middle of the night, having to drive to the emergency room. All of that is $35 a month per household. And then and also Keep Me Safe Organics. Keep Me Safe Organics is the makeup I use because there is no toxins in it, and it's all organic. And so when you go onto my page, whenyouneedafriend.com, you can get 10% off your entire purchase. That's Lily10. That's Lily10. When you enter Lily10 code, and that's Keep Me Safe Organic. So check it out. And of course, there's always Liberty Health Share, who's my major sponsor on and off the air as well. Okay, Paul, I want to talk about side effects that we're having as adults. And I also want to talk about when we go on the air, I want to talk about the fact that this is still happening and what we can do to make sure that this stops. Now, are there places in the United States that don't fluoridate their water?
Yes, there are. Yep.
What are some examples?
Ithaca, New York, Spokane, Washington, Wichita, Kansas, Portland, Oregon. But sadly, most communities with a public water supply are fluoridated.
And so reverse osmosis is what? I'm going to be installing reverse osmosis in my home pretty soon. And think about it. You're also getting it on your skin, which is one of the largest ways to distribute chemicals in your body, which is through the skin. So we're about to get started. How much time do we have, Andre? 30 seconds. Okay, so we have 30 seconds. For those of you who are watching on Facebook Live, let me know where you're listening from. And can you believe this information? I knew fluoride was not good for us, but I didn't think of it that I was drinking in my water. Isn't that amazing? We're so docile. We're so, conforming to what is out there. So here we go. I can hear it. Yeah. We got it down pat now, right? This is my first time doing the show in the studio since Andre's joined us. And Andre, you need to come around so you can say hello to everybody.
Once again, here's Lillian.
Welcome back to the Lillian McDermott radio show, where you can hear us worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. You can also watch us on Facebook Live right now at Lillian's radio show. But I want to encourage you to always learn something new each day. Go through life with childlike wonder. And learning for me, this is more than a radio show. This is my classroom. I am the student. And I have such wonderful teachers that come on the show to teach us this new truth. Some of the things you will reject because you're not ready. And some of the things you'll consider. I'm hoping most of the things you will consider. And I hope you consider being the 5th caller or texter, 407-373-5959 will get a copy of the Case Against Fluoride, which is what we're talking about today. So there's a lot of topics that you don't hear on the mainstream media, and it's because this topic affects a huge industry. And so what can we do to empower ourselves? The best way is to educate ourselves, informed choice. This is my truth now. And it's your ownership. It is your decision whether you accept or not by doing your own research so that this becomes your truth or you reject my truth. It doesn't matter to me. All I'm doing is providing this classroom for you to decide that you're going to be listening or you're not going to be listening. So here's what we do. I created a tribe. This is a tribe. We're like-minded people who want to learn something different. And so go to whenyouneedafriend.com. Please become a subscriber. When you become a subscriber, you get all sorts of free gifts, including my 90-day challenge to self-love ebook. But you will get the show sent to you and you'll get notifications on what's happening. That would be the audio. Now, while you're at whenyouneedafriend.com, there's lots of different icons. And one of the icons is YouTube. You click on that and subscribe there, and the video gets sent to you for your convenience to watch this over and over again, to share it with people. But there's also social media. You can follow me, like me, and that way we can stay connected with this like-mindedness of learning this new truth. You know, I hate to say this, but when I started learning this, I was angry. I was angry that I've been lied to. The things that supported me when I was a child don't support me today because they're not real. And so it is up to us to decide what kind of ownership I want, you want, we want for our life. It's no longer blame, shame, fault of this person said that to me. No, learn the truth that will eventually heal you, spirit, mind, and body. I want to acknowledge my sponsor, Liberty Health Share, who is just on and off the air, is a part of this truth. And so I want to encourage you to also call or text 407-373-5959. Learn the truth about fluoride. Protect your children. Today we have Professor Paul Connett. Now, Professor Paul Connett, since 1996, was challenged to learn a new truth about fluoride, and it became his passion. And he's on the Lillian McDermott radio show. And I want to share with you, for those of you who are still listening on Melbourne and from Daytona all the way to West Palm Beach, and has been a listener of the show, there's going to be 2 events. There's one going to be in Wednesday, January 23rd, and I'm giving you some dates here. And these are both on Melbourne. The city of Melbourne, Brevard County, has made a decision that we're done. We're done with fluoride in our water. So if you want to come for Jacksonville, from anywhere that you're listening to support us in Jacksonville, in Melbourne, we are done with this. We don't want fluoride in our water. It doesn't help us, and we're going to learn why and more facts. So there are 2 events. One of them is in the 23rd from 6 to 8 p.m., and that is a community meeting. And Professor Paul is going to be there. Professor Connett is going to be there. And also there's going to be a special City of Melbourne Council meeting on fluoride, and that's going to be Thursday, January 24th. If you want to learn more, if you want to do this in your community, maybe you'll want to take a little field trip to Melbourne, because we are going to change that there as well. So Professor Paul Connett, thank you so much for what you're doing to bring awareness to our environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Lillian. You know, I'm reminded of a statement by Aldous Huxley. He said, the tragedy of science is a beautiful theory can be destroyed by an ugly fact. And that's what you have here. In the 1940s, fluoridation was a beautiful theory. You could just put this substance into the drinking water. It was cheap. It was convenient. It would magically reduce the tooth decay in children. And now we have many ugly facts that this is not a safe thing to do. It's a
Share some of the ugly facts. I want to hear some of the ugly facts to make us aware.
The two major concerns for adults are the bones and the thyroid gland, starting with the bones. And I should say at the outset, Lillian, there's a difference between two arguments. Is fluoride dangerous for health? Answer, absolutely yes. We know that because millions of people worldwide in countries with high levels of fluoride in their water have been harmed by fluoride. The second argument is, does fluoridation, does the levels of fluoride that we have in the drinking water in artificially fluoridated communities, does that harm health? And that's where the argument is today between the people for fluoridation and the people opposed to it. The people opposed to it, like myself, say the latest science says that even at the low levels in the drinking water, you can damage the brains of our children, the bones of our adults, and we can interfere with the thyroid gland, which causes all kinds of problems. So starting with the bones, we know this. Approximately 50% of the fluoride from any source that we take in each day is excreted by the kidney. Bye-bye, we get rid of it. The other 50% or so accumulates in the bones over a lifetime. So it's steadily increasing. Now we know from India and China and other countries that the first symptoms of a disease called skeletal fluorosis is pains and stiffness in the joints. Well, those are the first symptoms of arthritis. And we have millions of people in the United States with arthritis. And yet the governments that promote fluoridation have never studied to see if there's a connection between the fluoride exposure in fluoridated communities and arthritis rates.
In fact, before they put the fluoride in the water, their research had not been complete, right?
No, very, very little. So, we'll come to the politics of the history a little bit later, I hope. But meanwhile, the second thing is, as the fluoride continues to concentrate in the bone over 50 years, 60 years, it makes the bones harder but more brittle. And we're concerned about increased hip fractures in the elderly. And on that, the epidemiological studies are mixed, okay? Now, the other thing, doctors in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s in Argentina, France, and Germany used to give patients with overactive thyroid gland, a fluoride to lower the activity. To lower. So the question is, well, what about today with people with normal thyroids? Isn't exposure to fluoride going to lower their activity? Could this not explain the epidemic that we have of hypothyroidism?
I got it.
Yep. Okay. Well, here's the story. There's a study published last year in Canada which showed that people that were already marginally low in thyroid, either borderline or outright low thyroid, their hypothyroidism was made worse by fluoride exposure. You measure hypothyroidism by the level of TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. As that goes up, it's an indicator that you are underactive thyroid gland. And they found that people that were already low iodine or borderline iodine, their condition, their TSH levels went up with fluoride exposure. So we're talking about millions of people here.
Yes.
So we're talking about millions of people with arthritis, millions of people with thyroid function. Until relatively recently, they haven't been studying this. They will say at this Melbourne meeting on Thursday, the dentist will say, oh, we've been doing this for 70 years.
But they also added mercury in our fillings. And
absolutely.
That was brilliant.
For 70 years, and we don't see any harm. Well, you have to say the absence of study is not the same as the absence of harm. And for 70 years, they've concluded, because they haven't studied fluoride and thyroid function in the United States, they haven't studied fluoride and arthritis in the United States, that this couldn't possibly be causing that.
Yeah.
Now, thank God, the United States government is beginning to fund studies, and they are reproducing the studies that we've been talking about from India and China.
And with that in mind, now it's time. It's time to learn this truth and how we can empower ourselves. One of the things you can do is be the fifth caller or texter, 407-373-5959. And you can join us off the air at Facebook Live on your smartphones at Lillian's radio show. And we're going to continue our conversation worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. Okay, Professor Connett. So we talked about this, and I can see your passion. And when I hear that, we know about mercury, but still, there you have to remove teeth that have silver fillings before someone is what is it when you're dead and I forgot.
Autopsy.
No. When they fire you up, when you become
cremate.
Oh yes. My gosh, these words, when they cremate you, they have to because of the emission of mercury, but somehow it's okay for it to be in our mouth. And that continues on in certain areas. But now fluoride, we can do something. And so this next segment, I want to make sure that we talk about how we can empower our listeners to do something here in Jacksonville. As a matter of fact, I don't know if there's anybody, I don't know if you've ever been contacted from Jacksonville, but it's time for us to say no more. Is it really difficult to get, that done, to get people out of this, getting the fluoride out of the water? Do we need an act of Congress?
Well, here's the thing. Unfortunately, the mainstream media is not telling the public about the studies that I've told you, even though
I'm shocked.
Yeah. But even, it's extraordinary, isn't it? Even when you've got studies that were funded by the EPA, NIH, NIEHS, the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences, major studies, 12-year study, multi-million-dollar, done by people from the University of Toronto, Indiana, Michigan, McGill, Harvard, Mount Sinai. The New York Times, Washington Post don't cover it. So it's only with shows like yours, Lillian, that this message is getting out to people. And when they hear it, of course, they're angry, they're mad.
Yeah.
To have dentists who are not trained in toxicology, they have no training in toxicology, no training in brain chemistry.
Are we good? Can you still hear me? Hold on a second. Here we go. Sorry. I didn't see that people were commenting, so I apologize. Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, I say it's shocking when councils are seduced, fooled by dentists who have no training in toxicology, no training in brain chemistry, no training in risk assessment, no training in any tissue other than the teeth, telling them it's safe, nothing to worry about.
And it's not safe. And every single testing. Now, how can the people that are for fluoride say, I'm for fluoride? Is it just because they're getting paid to say it?
No, I think they've just been indoctrinated. They're only taught at dental school. I don't know of any dental school in the United States or any fluoridated country in which both sides of this debate are aired. They only get one side. It's safe and effective, safe and effective.
Okay, here we go. This is our last segment on the air. But if for those of you who are watching off the air, thank you. I thank you so much, Karen, for listening in Miami. Gail, for listening in Satellite Beach. Go Melbourne. Here we go.
Once again,
and
here's Lillian.
Okay, welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where we're having a conversation on Facebook Live at Lillian's Radio Show. I want to encourage you to be the fifth caller or texter, 407-373-5959. As you know, I don't answer my phone while we're on the air, but I will check the phone later on. But today, be the fifth caller or texter. So don't leave me a message. If you want to say something, you can text. You can go on Lillian's radio show and comment on this show. I signed a petition. I am ready to get rid of because I do have a thyroid. And I met this beautiful woman, her name is Linda, who brought me all this information, made me aware. And I'm so grateful to Linda for coming in, brought me your book. She brought me your book, Paul, and she also bought me a few other books and made me aware of Melissa Gallico, who wrote a book called How to Cure Acne, or I'm trying to remember the name of the book, but we're going to have her on the show as well. And for children, which I was able to finish this book in no time, but this one is called F is for Fluoride. There's a lot of information out there, but if you're only dealing with a hammer, everything is a nail. So I want to encourage you to learn the other side. So if you're for fluoridating the water or against fluoridating the water, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about informed fact. We're talking about the science. You can ignore the science, or you can and put your head in the sand, or you can consider and do your research. This is now my truth. And that's what I bring onto the show, is my new truth. But I want to encourage you to research it so that you could either accept it as your new truth or reject it. But an informed choice, research even if you're hearing it here on the show, research it until it becomes your truth. And so while we're off the air, we're talking about the fact that there are places around the United States that have stood up, stand up, take a stand and say, no more. Not going to I'm not going to put toxins in my water. I mean, it's bad enough that we have chlorine, and we need the chlorine in our water for infection and all that. But let's talk about the dose. Do we know? Is it like, if I'm drinking my water, can I possibly have more fluoride than somebody else drinking water, my neighbor?
Oh, absolutely, Lillian. The dose depends upon how much water you drink. So,
and I drink a lot of water.
Yeah, if the concentration is 1 milligram per liter, 1 part per million, each time you drink a liter, you get 1 milligram. So your dose is milligrams per day. Your concentration is milligrams per liter. But in addition to the milligrams of fluoride you get from drinking the water, you're getting milligrams of fluoride from the toothpaste that you swallow, from the pesticides and fertilizers in your processed food, in your non-organic food. So eating organic is another way of avoiding fluoride.
Okay, so what are some of the things we can do and say, no more fluoride? There's enough evidence that shows that it's causing health issues, and this is huge. And it keeps us sick enough to need medication. So imagine if we were to all be healthy, if we were to all get healthy, did the right things for our body, what would happen? There would still be accidents. There would still be things that we would need and to go to the hospital for. There'd still be things, but not things that you don't know that is affecting you because they're adding pollutants in our water. So what are some of the things that we can do?
Well, before I tackle that, let me just say this. Okay. In terms of the people, you're saying you need to know the science, you need to empower yourself. I agree with that. The science is on our side, but let's forget the ethical argument. Even if fluoride worked well, and even if it was safe, the government has no right to enforce this.
Okay, so that's another perspective. Okay.
Yeah, they shouldn't be putting a medicine in the drinking water, period. And as far as the science is concerned, keep it just to one simple thing. Unless the proponents can show that fluoride is not damaging the brains of our children, it's unthinkable that they should continue this practice. So just looking, if they go to our website, fluoridealert.org, we give the details of the IQ studies, which shows that fluoride is lowering intelligence in our children. That is the potential. So that's the science. Now, in terms of what was, the second part of your question was?
The question is, what can we do to say no more, take a stand? What are the steps that we can take to empower ourselves to
Yep.
remove the fluoride in our water?
We need to empower the councillors, the decision makers. In the case of Melbourne, we have to say, have the fortitude to turn the tap off. This is something that we're doing to ourselves. We do not have to do it to ourselves. So turn off the tap. So we need letters to the newspapers. We need letters to councillors, to your congressman. This is a practice that must be stopped worldwide. And we should encourage the mainstream media to cover this issue. The New York Times, the Washington Post have yet to talk about this major IQ study, the Bashash study, the mother-child study, which showed
that study is at fluoridealert.org.
Yes, you can see it on the revolving mastheads. It's about, I think, number 4 on the mastheads, the most important IQ study. And then we talk about all the other IQ studies. It's the one with the picture of the pregnant woman on it. In utero exposure to the fetus is linked to a lowered IQ in the offspring.
So you mentioned that 50% of the fluoride is excreted from our kidneys.
Yeah.
And the other is stored in our bones. If we switch drinking fluoridated water,
yep,
can the bones release
Okay,
let's talk about what the benefits of removing fluoride.
Well, the bones turn over all the time. And so, yes, the fluoride is eventually released and will be excreted if we remove all the sources of fluoride. But it's a slow process. Okay.
So I'm going to be putting a video from petition.projectfree.me. That's petition.projectfree.me. And it'll give you the facts, the timeline. And there's a petition. They want 5,000 signatures. And I think right now they're at 2,400. I signed that petition myself. I want to encourage all of you who are listening to find that petition and sign it and say, no more. If I want fluoride in my water, I'll add it. But chances are you're not going to want to do that. So let's have our water be pure. There are nations, third world nations that have cleaner water than we have. And so we don't need to, because it's not purposely tainted. And so another thing is tell everybody that you know about the meeting. Well, we're going to have that meeting on Wednesday, the 23rd, and I'm going to be at that one. And then there's also the city of Melbourne. And I will put that all on my Facebook page at Lillian's radio show. Anything else, Professor Paul Connett, that you would like to share that perhaps we have not spoken about right now?
Well, there's one more piece of information. In 1999, the Center of Disease Control that promotes fluoridation actually admitted that fluoride's benefits are predominantly topical, not systemic. You don't need to swallow fluoride to benefit teeth, according to the CDC. So it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to put it in the water if it's a topical mechanism. If you want fluoride, and I don't, then brush it on your teeth and spit it out. This way, you don't expose the tissues, or not so much all the tissues, only the teeth, and you're not forcing it on people that don't want it.
Okay, and so it's time to change our water to reverse osmosis. There's other things that we can do to protect our environment until we make this happen in our area. Professor Paul Connett, thank you so much. It's fluoridealert.org. You can also get the book, The Case Against Fluoride, 5th caller or texter, 407-373-5959. Keep this up. Keep this up. You are changing lives. Thank you so much, Professor Paul Connett.
And thank you, Lillian. Thank you very much for having me.
My pleasure. And for those of you who are listening, it's time to stand up. It's time to stand up. Let's make a difference in our life. Let's make a difference in ourselves. You want to change the world? Start with yourself. Let's make a difference. And so remember, I'm right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Did I make it? Did I make it? Yay! I'm seeing the numbers go down. Okay, for those of you who are watching on Facebook Live, I'm wondering, do you have any questions for Professor Connett, for Paul? And we have some brilliant watchers today. And Karen, you're just amazing. Thank you so much. Karen says that she refused for many years fluoride treatments from her dentist, and they thought they told her she was making a poor decision. And now that, I'm glad that you're happy that you've made this decision. And so I'm making the decision too by removing fluoride from my toothpaste, and I use a particular toothpaste. But, we're so indoctrinated, Paul, about the fact that, you have to have fluoride. Or, how can we change our mindset other than to read the facts, read the information that's on there? Because there are people that will listen to this and accept it because it'll make sense. Yeah. But there are people who want to learn the facts.
Yeah, well, one fact which I didn't mention on air, but let's mention it now. In 1949, this is 1 year before the U.S. Public Health Service endorsed fluoridation, and everybody else followed very quickly afterwards. 1 year before that, the sugar lobby, the Sugar Research Foundation, 133 sugar interests said, we need to find a way to reduce tooth decay without reducing sugar consumption. They then poured millions of dollars into research departments at major universities like Harvard and Michigan to get nutritionists, professors of nutrition, promoting the virtues of sugar and also the virtues of water fluoridation. So fluoridation has always been a way of distracting attention from the real cause of tooth decay, which is too much sugar.
But isn't that the whole thing? Our government, the shutdown, all these things, those are all distractions to not looking at the root cause. And if with me, I have hypothyroidism, if I could reverse it, because they say to me, I can't reverse it, but I know I can. I know I can. And if it's just switching my water, can you imagine the pharmaceutical industry might just go, oh my gosh, if people find out about that, can imagine what's going to happen to the thyroid medication. So I'm very hopeful. I'm very hopeful that by finding this truth out, that I could empower myself to maybe try something different when I've tried nutrition, I've tried meditation, I've tried all these things that aren't changing the thyroid, although it's gotten better. My thyroid function has gotten better. I've lowered my medication, but I would love to be medication free.
Yeah, we tried removing all the fluoride in your life could help, and certainly start with fluoridated water, but mechanically deboned meat. If you get little chips of bone is where the fluoride concentrates in our species. So don't eat fish bones. Don't eat any chips of bones from meat.
Well, wait a minute. What about this new movement with this collagen, where the bone broth and all of that?
Well, be careful. If the animal is exposed to fluoride, the fluoride will be in its bones. So be careful. Be careful. It may be that what you're seeing there is the benefits of the broth is overwhelming the toxic effects of the fluoride.
Yes.
Fluoride is worse when you get poor nutrition. So bear that in mind. But where you can, another issue is tea. Tea drinkers get a lot of fluoride, both black tea and green tea. So if you're a tea drinker like myself, I grew up in England, then switch it around. Use coffee, tea, herbal tea, mix it. Just don't drink cups of tea after cups of tea. In England, have a nice cup of tea, dear. Tea after tea.
I didn't know you could do it. Impressions now. That's good. Very good. Now, that is one thing that I researched that caught my attention, that there are foods that are higher in fluoride. And I was wondering why wine and grape have so much fluoride.
Oh, well, that's the pesticides.
They use pesticides. So they use fluoride in their pesticide.
Yeah, cryolite.
That's why I drink organic wine from Spain.
Yep. Okay. Well, Europe doesn't fluoridate. 97% of Europe does not fluoridate. Only Ireland, unless you get your wine from Ireland, doesn't drink. They don't produce much wine in Ireland.
Yeah.
Spain is a concern. 10% of Spain, I think, fluoridates. England, 10% in the Midlands. So if you drink European wines, Italy, France, you should be quite okay as far as fluoride is concerned.
Okay, so that would include the grapes. And then the other that I read was raisins. So I guess that's all in the grape family. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because when I was doing my research, I'm going, not wine. but if I have to give that up, but I do use wines that are organic. And
yes.
I'm pretty comfortable with the one that I drink from Spain. I love it. And but anyway, I just want to repeat again. Okay, so I will give you the address now that we're off the air. I don't want to bog down to the people in Jacksonville. So for those of you who want to meet the experts, there's a community meeting that I will be at, and that's Wednesday the 23rd from 6 to 8, and that's at 2950 Pineda Plaza Way in Palm Shore, Florida, which is in the Melbourne area. And we're going to have speaker Dr. Paul Connett, co-author of the Case Against Fluoride, Melissa Gallico, which I'm excited to meet her as well. And she wrote the book, The Hidden Cause of Acne, and F is for Fluoride. And so that's the little book here. That was an easy read for me. But it has all the facts as well. And then the special City of Melbourne Council meeting on fluoride, that will be Thursday, January 24th from 6 to 8 p.m. in the council chambers, and that's at 900 East Strawbridge Avenue, Melbourne, Florida, 32901. And public comments will be allowed after the speaker presentation. And will you be at that one as well, Paul?
Yes, I'm giving a 10-minute presentation there. Yes.
Well, I wish you luck on that. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person on Wednesday and learning even more of what you have to say. And for those of you, it's time to empower ourselves and make informed choices. Let me see if there's any questions or any comments as we close today. Thank you so much for watching today on Facebook Live. And for now, is that rain? Oh my goodness, all of a sudden it sounded like I was going to be sucked up here. Okay, so thank you so much, Paul.
Well, this is what we have over here.
Oh, look at that. It's beautiful. Beautiful. I'll stick once we're done here, I'll show you how it looks in Florida. We've just got sunny. It's beautiful there. And so thank you so much for watching today. I hope you feel empowered to learn a new truth and sign a petition. The place that I was telling you about, you go to fluoridealert.org, fluoridealert.org, and petition.projectfree.me. We'll see you till next. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much for being a part of our conversation today and informing us. Okay, I'm stopping the stream. Here we go.